that friction is highest going cross-border. And rather than as many projects, particularly in the early days, we're trying to build really a parallel financial system. Let's circumvent banks. Let's circumvent the governments. Ripple took an approach of let's work with the government. Let's work with banks, regulated financial institutions. And look, to some degree, in the earliest days, that's one of the reasons why Ripple was controversial, is because it was taking a bit of a controversial approach to crypto. If crypto went down with banks and down with government, that's with whom we are working. That created controversy. But look, today I believe that Ripple, the company, so we are effectively building enterprise blockchain-based solutions. We started with cross-border payments. We sell to banks. We sell to financial institutions. We have billions of dollars of transactions going through RippleNet, through XRP, the product we call on-demand liquidity. I think Ripple is one of the few truly scaled crypto use cases that actually is solving a problem. It's not a science experiment. It's not in a testing phase. Again, we're if anything, we're trying to throttle growth right now. The demand is outstripping really our ability to serve that demand right now. In Q2, which was obviously a tough quarter for crypto at large, was a record quarter for Ripple. We obviously care a lot about the crypto ecosystem and the value of crypto broadly, but on the other hand, we're selling an enterprise solution, and if we're not solving a problem, people aren't going to buy it.
Because if you look at data, if you look at how to actually process transactions, Ripple the company, runs a lot of the infrastructure right now.
No, we don't.
I think many people use.
No, we don't.
So let's correct that misperception. How do you break it down?
Look, facts are important, right? And
we're here.
Well, but look, and I think, I know we're kind of kidding around in the mean tweets. Like, the thing that I find frustrating is people throw shit out there, and it's like, that's not even true. Let's try to start with facts. So today, of the 155 validators on the XRP ledger, Ripple runs, I think, 6 out of 155 or something. So look, there's been a long time since Ripple, the company, meaning literally early, like 2012, 2013, 2014. There's been amendments passed on the XRP ledger that Ripple, the company, opposed. We can't, it's traditional open source software. We can't control it. And, I think it's, again, one of those misperceptions that, like, hey, let's make sure we understand this stuff before we, throw stones. Look, the other thing I'll quickly say on this, I believe, and I've very publicly said, that one of the biggest things holding back crypto at large is tribalism. I mean, Ripple has invested in over 60 companies. We've invested hundreds of millions of dollars, close to $500 million, in about 60 different companies across the crypto landscape. Some of them are involved with XRP, some of them aren't. I truly believe all boats can rise, and I think the whole industry, frankly, needs to stop taking shots at each other and try to support each other and try to actually help people be successful. Yes, there's some projects that compete against each other, but there's a whole lot of things that I just think we should spend a lot less time attacking each other and a lot more time worrying about the external environment, which, recently you have obviously supported in the SEC lawsuit.
We're going to get to that in a minute.
Right.
And, but I think,
thank you.
In terms of ownership of XRP, Ripple has a disproportionately large share of the tokens. Would you agree with that?
Well, so today we own just about exactly 50%. So I kind of know where your question's going here. Look, even in the earliest days, you've been involved with crypto for a long time. What's the right way to do distribution?
I'm not coming at you the way that I think you think I'm about to. I'm asking, do you have a disproportionately large share? I think the answer is
we own about 50%. It's, as you know well, the vast majority of that, I don't know, call it 90% of that is in escrows. Mm-hmm. We can't control that. It's in an escrow. It unlocks once a month. We did this to kind of to eliminate the FUD that we somehow were able to control the XRP ledger. It's like, look, that's not true. But we do own roughly 50% of all the XRP. The other 50% is, float out and involved with various people, various projects, what have you. So Ripple raised a Series A, a Series B, and a Series C. We did not do an ICO. Mm-hmm. And I think, when people talk about what is the SEC trying to prove or what have you, it's the facts of the Ripple case are very, very different than some of the other cases that the SEC has brought. Now, I do think the SEC has been a bit of a bully in the whole industry, right? We will spend, and I publicly already shared this, well into the over $100 million defending ourselves against the SEC. And there's not a lot of projects that can actually afford, the companies that can afford to do that, it's not a long list. And so I do think it's not just important for Ripple. It's important for the industry that somebody kind of stand up to this. And
Financial institution.
can I put a couple facts around that? So the XRP, when the SEC sued us, XRP was traded on well over 200 exchanges around the world. 99.9% of all XRP trading had nothing to do with Ripple, the company.
Yep.
So it was just, activity around the world, other projects, speculators, you name it, but it had nothing to do with Ripple. 99.9%. So around 10 basis points was what Ripple, the company, had direct involvement in.
I think a lot of people, in fairness, were looking to see what those big banks would do and whether they would truly leverage XRP. I remember thinking about it early on as an investment to front run the banks because they were going to take so long.
I remember when I first met with the SEC, the SEC had set up this innovation group run by one named Val Sapanic, and she became kind of the crypto czar. And look, they were purportedly just, hey, we want to understand. We went in to kind of just educate them. Frankly, as I was going around the world, meeting with central bankers around the world, talking to them about here's how Ripple's solution works. Here's the kind of customers we're signing. Here's how we use XRP. Mm-hmm. We are one participant in the XRP ecosystem. And so the first meeting I had, Jay Clayton was there, and not once did anyone say to me in this meeting that, and by the way, again, no lawyers from Ripple were there. It was me and David Schwartz. And, there's never even a suggestion that XRP was a security. And I thought it was a very constructive meeting just to talk about how Ripple was using XRP and how the whole kind of crypto landscape, looked. Now, to your question, when did we get a sense that the tone had shifted? About a year after that, we got a letter, and now lots of people have gotten these letters. In my judgment, the SEC has gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and just blasting out these investigative letters. But the first letter we got was simply hey, we're looking into this. It's informal. We want your voluntary cooperation. And literally there's a sentence in there that says, we've made no determination about what we view XRP as, but we want to, blah, blah, blah. Now, what's interesting about that is that happened I think in 2019, we got that letter. And we're like, oh, okay, more active engagement. We're happy to cooperate. And again, one of the ironies here, I know you're pacing how we get into the lawsuit, but in that letter, it references there's been no determination made. Yet they sued us and me personally, suggesting that from 2013 to 2020, I should have known the whole time that XRP was a security. My attitude is I was in your office multiple times. Not once did someone tell me that they viewed XRP as a security. Just recently, the judge had a ruling about some discovery things, and she described the SEC, one, as being hypocritical, two, as not following a faithful allegiance to the law. That's a quote. This is a federal government agency that works for us, right? It's part of the government. We should feel outrage. The idea that now everything under Gary Gensler's view is a security is crazy talk. I think we have to go back to first principles. The United States Securities and Exchange Commission is granted authority by legislation from Congress. The 1933 Securities Act describes a security as an investment contract. So everybody talks about the Howey test. If you read the recent summary judgment motion, the point we're making is there's no investment contract. You don't even get to the Howey test. Ripple, the company, and Brad Garlinghouse, the individual, I didn't enter into a contract with anyone who bought XRP. There's no investment contract. If there's not a contract, how do you even get to the Howey test?
How do you explain the Hinman test?
But the Hinman test, which just so everyone's on the same page, Hinman gave a speech saying that decentralization was a measure of whether or not something is security.
Yes.
That's not what the law says.
That was a single speech of his. Exactly.
That was just a Hinman opinion, I guess.
Yeah. Still, that was kind of perceived as Ethereum's getting away scot-free, even though they did this token sale. There was actual documentation. There was a white paper. They
did an ICO.
And on the one hand, you said there shouldn't be so much tribalism. On the other, you have frequently contrasted Ripple, XRP, and the situation there with everything that happened between Ethereum, the asset, the Ethereum Foundation, and Consensus.
Well, so let me be. I'm going to set the record straight.
There? Yeah.
I personally own Bitcoin. I personally own Ethereum. I personally own XRP. Mm-hmm. I am long all of those digital assets and some others. My comparison, my attitude is Bill Hinman, as the director of CorpFin, got in front of the world and gave a speech saying, We think ETH was a security, transitioned to a non-security because of a decentralization framework. I looked at that and I remember sending an email internally at Ripple. I was like, hey, this is good news. XRP, is a decentralized open source digital asset. Ripple, the company, only controls a very small percentage of the validators on the network. This is, again, the law doesn't actually say what Bill Hinman says, but if that's how the SEC is going to measure this, then that's good. So my drawing the contrast is simply, why would the SEC, why would a government entity, when XRP at the time that the SEC started their investigation was the second most valuable asset, why would they be picking winners and losers? It's just not the role of a government. Well, not a capitalistic, not a democracy government. There's other governments around the world that might be in that business, but.
And now, of course, apparently Ethereum is going back to not sufficiently decentralized because of the merge.
Well, the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs is kind of like, how in the world can they say, because it went from proof of work to proof of stake, now all of a sudden it went back to being a security?
Mm-hmm.
It
makes perfect sense to me. You mentioned you've spent $100 million pushing this, more than that. I'm sure XRP sales helped fund that. So it's a public good at this point that the decentralized community is
so let me be clear about that, because again, I think facts matter. Ripple only sells XRP to customers who are sending cross-border payments using our product onto their liquidity.
Fair enough. That will then get distributed in the ecosystem, and then many of the folks are not necessarily affiliated with Ripple, and they'll get traded on third-party exchanges.
And as we publicly disclose to everyone, the vast majority of the XRP we sell, we repurchase.
Yes.
And we're very transparent about that, and we have been from the beginning. I'll say up front, I'm not the lawyer, but I've learned, unfortunately, more than I'd ever want to know about this. I very much doubt there will be a jury trial. And the reason is juries are used to figure out what the facts are. In this case, the facts really aren't in dispute, right? We agree, Ripple sold XRP. I personally received some of my compensation in XRP, and I sold XRP. Those facts aren't in dispute. What's not clear is the law. And so what the government is saying, what we're saying with these recent filings of a motion for summary judgment is, look, accept the facts as they are, just rule on the law. So by mid-November, we'll also comment briefly that the SEC has been trying to delay this thing every chance they have. We believe that by mid-November,
they want to pick off smaller fish first. Yeah.
Well, they're trying to set precedent. Some of you following the library case, which is super interesting to follow, and I applaud the leaders there for some of their humorous tweets, which I never will click on I like because someone's watching everything I do, but I do sometimes like them.
I think you just outed yourself.
Anyway, they're trying to delay it. By mid-November, we should have the motion for summary judgment fully briefed in front of the judge. Then the question is, how long does the judge take to make a ruling? We don't know. It could be as little as 2 months. It could be as little as much as 6 to 8, 9 months. But I think the full case will be in front of the judge, and I doubt that you would have the judge come back and say, no, there's a dispute on the facts, let's have a trial. I don't think there needs to be a trial, and both the government and Ripple are saying we don't need a trial, just here are the facts, you should rule. And again, the fact is the SEC has to first prove that there's an investment contract. Mm-hmm. If there's an investment contract, then you apply the Howey test. And I don't think they can get past the investment contract. But if you apply the Howey test, I think they're also going to fail because there's a lot of people who buy XRP who've never heard of Ripple, and that's okay. But the idea that XRP is a security of Ripple, I just think is nonsense. But Gary Gensler has gone out there and tried to portray, and he uses the word crypto is the Wild West. For those of us in the industry, it's like, I don't think it's the Wild West at all. Is there volatility? Yes. But, I think the vast majority of people in crypto want to follow the rules of the road. Mm-hmm. We need clear rules of the road. And for Gary Gensler, he's just added confusion to the system by, his lawsuit going after the former Coinbase employee saying that was insider trading of securities. But he's not going after Coinbase where they were traded. He's going after the individual, I think, because the individual doesn't have the money and resources that Coinbase would do to defend themselves. This is just a shitty way for a government to actually regulate. Keep in mind, the SEC, one of their mission statements is to protect investors. The day that they filed the lawsuit against Ripple, $15 billion was evaporated in the XRP ecosystem.
Well, I'm not going to take Chair Gensler's defense here, but if the mission of the SEC is to protect investors, promote fair and efficient markets and capital formation, then they're 0 for 3, and that's not going to change until there's new leadership. So